the spring of 2018, a fella named Daryl Singletary died. I don't know if you ever remember him, but he had a bunch of great songs. One of the best singers, I think, since, of Merle Haggard or George Jones, I think. But anyway, he passed away. I covered my favorite song of his, a song called Spilled Whiskey, and that was the first thing. I'd put maybe like 3 or 4 videos up before that point.
34 videos?
No, 3 or 4.
Oh, gotcha.
Just me sitting in my room playing guitar, old cover songs that I liked, and they'd get 3, 4, 5,000 views or something on Facebook. That was all.
34,000 views is a lot of views.
No, 3, 4, or 5,000.
Oh, gotcha.
I thought this was about to be a bit or something you was pulling on me. No, just 3, 4, or 5,000 views or something. And then when I posted that Spilled Whiskey video, the day that he passed away, it, in a matter of it was a week or 2 or something, it had blown up to 300,000 views and got shared around on a couple big, country music pages and stuff. And it was funny. I started getting calls from people in Nashville that had found my information or whatever, and it was mostly shyster types that would call me up and be like, hey, if you can come up with $20,000, get your butt to Nashville and we'll cut your record and make you a star. And I didn't know anything about the music business, but I didn't think that was how it worked. So I kind of got burned out of all that.
You got nobody, I don't want to say you've got nobody, but who would you have asked for advice then?
No, nobody outside of
just
my
your
dad and mom.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And they thought the same thing, where it's like, well, it's good that you're getting some attention, but that doesn't sound like how it works.
Yeah.
And so ended up, I think about a month later after that video kind of popped off, my producer now, a guy named Carson Chamberlain, sent me an email with no information in it. He was just like, and if you ever meet Carson, it makes perfect sense in 5 minutes that he would send this email. He was like, hey, bud, my name's Carson Chamberlain. Been in the music business a while. I'm not much for tooting my own horn, but you can probably look me up if you want to. I'd like to talk about working with you. Here's my phone number. And so anyways, I just thought it was another one of the, people trying to pull a fast one on me. And so I ignored it for a while, and then turned out the gal that I was dating at the time, she helped me a little bit with the social media side of things and whatnot. And anyway, she called me. I was out on a show, and she was like, hey, this Carson Chamberlain guy, you remember him? And I was like, nah, I don't know. Name rings a bell maybe. And she's like, all right, I'm sending you a Wikipedia link right now. You're going to want to read that, and you're going to want to email that guy back. And so anyway, pulled up the Wikipedia link, and he was Keith Whitley's steel player and band leader and tour manager for basically his whole career, which was short, but he was really probably the biggest influence on my singing. He was my favorite singer as a kid, and still is one of them. But that was already just like, oh, this guy's actually done it. And then he was road manager for Alan Jackson and Clint Black, and successful producer. He did a bunch of the early Mark Wills hits. He did the first 3 or 4 Easton Corbin records, first 3 or 4 Billy Currington records, just a bunch of hits, and then a writer on, hit songs a mile long. So that was the first legitimate person that was like, all right, this guy's worked with people that I not only know the name of, but they were heroes of mine, so maybe he'd be worth talking to. So we started talking on the phone. That was spring of 2018. By the summer of 2018, he happened to have a place out in Colorado, not too far from where I was living, and he was like, you want to get together for lunch? And so I said, yeah, sure. And so he came down from Fort Collins to Louisville, where I was living, and we had lunch and ended up spending the whole afternoon together. He came back to my, rotten little college house with my roommates, and it was a dump. And I sat there on the couch and played him some songs, just me and the guitar. Anyways, and then we kept in touch, and that fall, 2018, I started flying into town. The first week we were out there, he set up a bunch of co-writes for me. I flew in. He let me stay at his house, and, and there was never any talk of any money or nothing. It was just he had found something that he wanted to work with that he thought would work, and was just like, and he was very upfront about it. He was like, here's the deal. I'm not going to, I'll put in all the time and all the, give it everything I have, and if it works, great. I'll take a percentage on the back end, and if it doesn't, you don't owe me nothing. So that felt a lot more like another thing that he told me too was that he was like, you're great, you sing great, you play great, you know good songs, but you're not ready, you don't know who you are yet, kind of a thing. And so we spent, I would say, the better part of 3 years for sure before. So he was like, we're not going to go cut a record next week. You're not going to have music out. This is a long haul type of project, and we're going to put in a lot of time. And
which also seems like a fundamental thing.
Yeah, big time. And yeah, and so he basically, I'd never co-written songs before either. I'd written a handful of things, but just by myself, and they weren't very good. But he kind of was like, well, you know, there's enough of a start here. We can try and see if you want to be a writer or whatnot. And I really didn't have any strong feeling either way, but he set up some co-writes for me, and so we did that, and I ended up loving that. And so, we wrote, I don't know, in the realm of 300 songs or something over 5 years,
Good
6
heavens.
years before we, picked 12 and put out the first record. So
Good heavens.
it was, and just all of that stuff, while like frustrating at times when it's like I'm kind of, especially once I moved to Nashville, which wasn't, I flew in and out for, from 2018 to 21, I was still working my construction job in Colorado, and I'd work 2 weeks straight there and then have the week off in Nashville, or not off, but in Nashville to write, meet people, do whatever, work on the dream, I guess. And so that was, 21, I finally got moved there full time, and that was really frustrating because then I started to meet some of the other guys, younger fellas that were trying to do what I was doing too, and they're playing gigs around town, and they're, kind of feels like they're getting more notice than me, and I'm just keeping my head down. I started working construction again in Nashville, and I took a couple days a week to write because that's what Carson advised me to do. He was like, no, you don't want to go dive in and play as many gigs as you can in Nashville. The way he kind of put it to me was, for one thing, the kind of the mystique of it is pretty important. When you starting off, like, people will start to realize that you're here a little bit, and they'll wonder who you are and why you're not just available to see any afternoon of the week playing some little writers round or whatever. And then he was also like, you're not like your fully fledged artist yet. We're still zeroing in on the, all right, now we've found it, here's Zach Top.
But you knew then though that you liked this kind of sound.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. It was mostly just like with my writing that we were kind of like experimenting, just, get a little out this way and get a little out this way and try to find exactly where I wanted to be as far as writing went. But yeah, so we did that for a long time, and I figured when I moved to Nashville, it'd be like, all right, I'm gonna go get gigs on Broadway. I'm gonna play every writers round I possibly can. Where I'm done swinging a hammer. I'm a musician now, and that was not the case. He kind of said, no, let's not do that. Keep your head down. Let's keep writing. When the time is right to make a big splash, then we'll do that. And so, which looking back, it was frustrating at the time. Because like I didn't move to Nashville to keep swinging a hammer, but looking back on it was solid gold advice for sure.
Were you still during those 5 years? Like, how much of social media were you trying to utilize for your career?
Yeah, I was doing it all on my own at that point. I never really did anything but just me playing covers. Every now and then I'd play one of my originals. If we wrote a good one that I really liked that day, I'd be like, here's a course of this thing, see if you like it. And but yeah, just playing a bunch of old songs that I loved, and it kept on slowly building. People kept on enjoying it, and that was the only thing really that I was doing to get noticed. So people were aware that I was around singing somewhere, but wasn't, couldn't get a ticket to go see a show.
I mean, that part of it's kind of cool. It's just like, you let people know you're still alive and doing the deal, but also you're not necessarily having
kind
to
of
play
not
all
on the
over
face
country.
of the earth. Yeah.
What?
And that was the way that he put it to me one time that makes a lot of sense to me, was like, if you can get it built up to a point where on your own, where Nashville wants you more than you need them, that's where you need
Sweet
to be.
spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That way they don't have leverage on you.
Exactly. Then you're not going to like the first record deal that gets offered. You're
You
like,
don't
yeah,
have
I'll
to
take it. Whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, you kind of, it's like, no, I've got a thing built here right now. It can, because that was where it was at that point, like before I signed my deal. You know, we were running around, we were playing shows, we were selling tickets, we were opening for people. It was, if I'd have kept going on my own, it could have, you know, kept working. It'd be a slower road. But yeah, it was at that point where it's like, we've got enough stuff going here. And at that point I had, like, there was more people behind me than Carson at that point. I had a publishing deal with Major Bob Music. Bob Doyle was, Garth's manager from day one, Garth Brooks, and published him from day one too. So obviously he knows exactly how to kind of guide along a growing act, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So they were helping a lot, and certainly financially helping as far as, like, they gave me a publishing deal, so I was making a check to turn in a quota of songs that I had written. So that was good. That kept me, cut down my construction schedule a little bit. I was still doing a little bit for a while. But then, yeah, at some point it was like, all right, I was making enough on my pub deal and playing some shows that I didn't need to do the hammer swinging anymore. And then, yeah, that was kind of, they were the ones backing me. They published me, and then shortly after we did a management deal as well. And then, shoot, that's been over a year now. Not this last September, but September before, August or September, signed my record deal with the label I'm with now, which that was fun too. They're a brand new company. I was the first thing they signed. And it's a bunch of people that had been around the Nashville industry, veterans at record labels and different, companies. But it was a small little lean group that kind of had as much to prove as I did at that point. And so I felt like a really good partnership where, as opposed to signing with a major label where there's 40 artists on their label already making money. And so if one thing doesn't work for me, it's easy for them to forget about me. And then I'm just stuck in a deal for 5 years without them paying too much attention and trying to really boost me. So I liked being there.
Sounds like maybe Carson helped you make that. I mean, he probably knew.
Yeah. He's been the biggest mentor and
because that sounds risky. Like,
yeah,
hey, we're gonna start new. We got this new, and we want you to sign with us.
Yeah,
but if Carson's there, like, no, this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
Yep. It also just dating back to when you first shook hands with him, and like that. Did that give you a sense of hope for the start of something? I'm sure there, like you said, there was times where it's like, man, I'd rather not be slinging a hammer in Nashville, but also there's probably like some underlying assurance that something was going to maybe come to fruition because he's involved.
Absolutely. He was the first one that ever made me feel like it's like, oh, I know it's a thing, but like he was the first one that was like, all right, here's actually an opportunity that could work, that I could do this for a living. And that's all I want to do. So that was, is kind of seeing his track record of success. He hadn't steered me wrong yet. And he's been involved in pretty much every major decision that I've made as far as my music career.
Man, that sounds like a blessing.
Huge. Yeah.